We are online, everybody. Good afternoon from beautiful Bavaria. After lots of rain and flood, we are back and safe and happy, and the sun also will shine. We are with you with a very special edition of FotoFinder Online Academy. Catherine, tell me, what's so special?
Moha, this is a special edition because we are together with Thorsten today. We are family now. It's a wedding academy from FotoFinder and Dermlight. Welcome, Thorsten.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting. I think we have some exciting things planned, exciting things in the works, and I'm so happy for many of you to be here. And so we haven't done it on the spot in a long time, and I think this is going to be a special one, and you're going to have a good time. You're going to learn a few things.
First of many, first of many.
Yes, and we're going to do this. We're going to give you a lot more of this.
And also relax a little bit, man. You know, it's honeymoon time. It's honeymoon. We did the marriage, so you don't need to be that formal anymore. Relax.
And there's one more waiting.
One more. Oh my God. One more.
A wife.
Oh yes, people. Let me wrap this up. We were thinking about, obviously, FotoFinder, Dermlight, being now together to make you all happy. Allows us to obviously expand the philosophy and idea of academy involving Dermlight, Thorsten himself. And actually for this first event, we thought about how do we make it so special? We need the right people to be with us, right? Who are the speakers to invite?
The Pope and the goddess of Dermsocopy.
Oh my God, the Pope. I mean, he's from Napoli, he's not from Roma.
Hey.
Diego.
But today we have among us
the one and only. No, well, we start with the ladies first. Ladies first. Thorsten, who's with us?
We have Nisa with us. Nisa, it's amazing.
One of the most famous dermoscopists worldwide, and always a pleasure to have her with us. Nisa, please turn on your camera. Join us from Bad Birnbach, Bavaria to beautiful Ankara, I suppose.
Do we have connection to Ankara?
Where is she?
It takes some time to connect, probably. That's far away.
Let's take the time to introduce our second speaker. Hey, here she is.
I think there was a technical problem because I was trying to start my video camera.
No, it's part of the story, Nisa. It's all planned. Don't worry. Welcome to the session, Nisa. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here with you once again. It's always a great pleasure. And congratulations for the marriage.
It's beautiful. You know, we are reinventing all the kind of models of marriage here at FotoFinder. We have got 3, 4, 5, 6. Everything is possible.
Bringing some kids and making new ones.
Yeah.
People, let us go from Ankara to another lovely place in Europe.
Yeah,
we are looking forward to the new kids.
The new kids, exactly. And here is, but before we get to the kids, we will introduce our second speaker from Napoli, Bella Napoli, the city of pizza.
Very close to Stadio di Argenziano. We have the one and only Giuseppe Argenziano. But probably you also take some time to connect.
No, you don't allow me to switch on the video.
Giuseppe's living room.
Here we are. You see, we are also like a couple, black and white Nisa.
Yes, people, actually, you are going to be online on Sunday at 7 p.m. too, right?
Yes, of course. We are together with Nisa and Costantino and Emilio every Sunday together.
Yeah, but is it going to be the last one? Is it the last one of this season? Oh my God, the special.
Happy hour.
The famous happy hour. And makes everybody happy.
And then you go on summer holiday for 6 months.
Yes, exactly. For 6 months, at least. Yeah.
He's the one who wants more. He wants more than 6 months.
But listen, so once now you got married, who is cleaning the dishes?
No, in our company is like this. We are a very feminist company, so definitely Catherine is not gonna wash the dish. I can
No,
tell you, yes.
it's either
No.
you, Moa, or you, Torsten. Yeah.
Yes, yes, sure, sure.
I'm in charge of making a mess, that's for
He
sure.
makes a mess. He
And
makes a mess.
he's master in disappearing when it comes to housework.
We have a problem at FotoFinder. We need
No way whatsoever.
But interesting question from Napoli. So you made the experience already that this is a topic.
This
In
is
the marriage.
a very important topic in Napoli, of course. Who is cooking? Who is cleaning? Who is making money? Who is?
But the roles
Everything
changed.
must be
Everything
clear.
changed.
Everything must be clear. No, no, no. We are also becoming a very European city where we share everything, you know. So we couples are doing sharing things, you know. It's not anymore that the man is going out in the morning and the lady is cleaning the house. It's not anymore like this, even in Napoli. Can you imagine?
Yes.
So word is no more the same.
No, it's not the same. Everything is equal. You are all becoming equal. That's how it is. Everybody.
But pizza is still great in Napoli, right?
Yes,
Unique.
let's say pizza is still great, yeah. But let me tell you, pizza, you can eat pizza everywhere in the world. The most important thing you have to eat when you come to Napoli is mozzarella. Mozzarella can be only eaten in Napoli. No other places in the world.
I agree.
And what do we eat when we come to Ankara, Nisa?
There are a lot of options. You should come and be a guest of mine and try the Ankara experience.
Beautiful. I've
Sounds
never been, by the
amazing.
way. I've never been there. No, beautiful people. We have prepared a wonderful program for you today. Thanks for being with us from everywhere. You can chat with us. It's Zoom, so if you connect via your phone, you can slide back and forth. You have got options. From desktop, you can basically use it on the bottom of your screen to chat with us. We have got also polls we prepared, and obviously lots of nice surprises and beautiful topics.
Yes, the topic today, the most important thing.
Yes.
The topic today is from small to tall. So we're talking about micromelanoma and congenital nevi, and we talk about kids and great parents. And
beautiful.
Everything in between.
Nice, nice. It's all somehow related to marriage today. Kids and grandparents, it's not family, it's all family. Wonderful. Okay, who's gonna start?
And in the break, we will talk about the secrets of a good marriage.
Seriously? Who's gonna?
You have to tell us, Giuseppe and Nisa.
Okay, interesting. That's a pressure issue. I mean, that's the secrets of a good marriage.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. I have no. I'm still searching for the secret.
Oh, God. So, people, we are going to start our first session. Everybody concentrate, get yourself a coffee here on this beautiful Friday afternoon or morning for Latinos. And we start with?
Nisa.
With Nisa. Beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
The stage is yours.
Stage is yours, Nisa.
Thank you. Oops, sorry. Thank you once again for your invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you. Today, I'm going to talk about micromelanoma and congenital nevus. First, I would like to describe what is micromelanoma. Micromelanomas have different definitions because some accept melanomas smaller than 5 millimeter as micromelanoma, and some accept melanomas smaller than 2 millimeter size as micromelanoma. Given the minute size, the ABCD screening acronym becomes redundant. And traditional dermatoscopic diagnostic methods often fail in micromelanomas, and the chaos and clues algorithm may be the better methods to follow while performing dermatoscopy. And we all know the rules of this algorithm, which was first described by Professor Cliff Rosendahl from Australia. And I like this quote very much from Werner Ackermann. And he said that lesions have lives just as for human beings. They look very different at different times in their lives, just as human beings do. And that stage in the lives of lesions can be described and depicted roughly as early, fully developed, and late, just as human beings can be described and depicted as infantile, mature, and old. So diagnosing micromelanomas can sometimes really very challenging because we generally do not see typical melanoma diagnostic clues in micromelanomas. Schmockel and Brown-Falco even suggested that pigmented lesions under 5 mm cannot be considered melanomas, as clinical and histological features only became apparent when lesions enlarged beyond 5 mm size. Is it true? Literature on this topic suggests that while size is a factor, it's not the sole determinant for diagnosing melanoma. While Schmockel and Brown-Falco's observation highlights the importance of size in melanoma diagnosis, it's not a strict cutoff, and other clinical and histological features should be considered in conjunction for an accurate assessment. For example, we have two lesions here. The one on the right-hand side is very, very clear-cut melanoma for everyone. You don't need a dermatoscope for this to diagnose. But for the first one, the one on the left-hand side, can you see a melanoma here? It's impossible to say that there is a melanoma here, but there is. And here is a dermatoscopy. So in the dermatoscopy, for such a small lesion, it was very chaotic. Normally, there's also an option that you can also follow this lesion up because it is not a clear-cut, still it's not a clear-cut melanoma. But this patient have a very high-risk melanoma patient because there were 3 melanomas diagnosed in the previous 3 years. The patient had more than 500 nevi and the history of solarium, and she was a very high-risk patient. And that minute lesion was detected during total body photography. We published this case, and histopathologic slides were asked to Simon Clark from Australia and also Harald Kittler from Austria to confirm the diagnosis because really it was so small. It was smaller than 1 millimeter in size. It was just 0.9 millimeter. And when we published this case, this was the smallest melanomas ever described in the literature. And here you see the histopathologic features. And the patient's other melanomas are here, one on the back, one on the chest, and one on the knee. And they were all de novo melanomas. They weren't developed from a nevus. This was a high-risk patient. So the message is, in high-risk patients, total body photography is very important. And when a new lesion developed with chaos and clues, it's better to excise, or we are following up these patients in every 3 or 6 months. I'm sure this lesion will be 6 months later, will be still a small melanoma. Follow-up can be an option, but in high-risk patients, if you see any clues for melanoma, you can excise it from the onset. And there is a study published by Amelios Lalas and his group, the secondary primary melanomas in a cohort of almost 1,000 melanoma patients within the first years of monitoring was found to be around 8%, as you can see here. Other patients, this patient has a history of melanoma, family history of melanoma. His father died because of melanoma, and he was very obsessed. And he was always thinking about, I will have melanoma, may have melanoma one time. And he always would like to come to visits in every 3 months. And whenever I said that, please, there's no need for that because annual follow-up is enough for you. And your moles are really looking very fine. One day, I think, if we think something negative and concentrate on something will happen to us, I think it generally happens. So Let's have a look at the abdominal region, number 5. And you see the dermatoscopic changes in the small melanocytic lesion. And 6 months later, it was looking like this. And here we have some angulated lines, we have brown circle, and we have grayish areas. And we would like to excise the lesion because it was a changing lesion and the patient was so obsessed. And histopathology was melanoma, but microinvasive melanoma. For such a small lesion, it was so interesting to have a microinvasive melanoma. Here you see the nest of atypical melanocytes at the dermoepidermal junction. And here you can see the dermal invasion and also pagetoid spread. And here the focus of microinvasion areas, again, is visible in the papillary dermis. Another lesion, it's a very minute lesion on the forehead. And here's the dermatoscopy. Do you think that this tiny lesion could be a melanoma? Let's have a look at the clues here. We have complete and incomplete circles. We have circle within circle, and we have also dot inside the circle. We have follicular obliteration. So it's really very interesting. This is a very tiny lesion, but almost include all melanoma clues in this lesion. And this was also a lentigo maligna, very small one. Let's have a look at this patient. This patient has a lot of nevi, and we are following up the patient annually. Actually, we were following up the one on the right side, the brown one, but there was a little one appeared, and it's really growing very slowly because we are examining the patient annually, and these old photos are coming from everyone's ear. It was growing and it was changing, and the patient was older than 60 years old. And here is the close-up. This is with hand dermatoscopy. It's looking more weird than the FotoFinder images here, but we have eccentric structureless areas. According to chaos and clues algorithm, the lesion is a chaotic one, and it's a new one and changing one. And so we have also some grayish areas. So we should excise this lesion. And here you can see that it's just a 2 millimeter lesion. The ruler is on the upper side, and it was a melanoma in situ. But in 4 years, it's still in situ. So on some damaged skin, it's good that we have, yes, we may have some melanomas, but they are generally developing and evolving very, very slowly. Another patient, the patient is 60 years old, and he had a history of melanoma 4 years ago. And here you can see the scar tissue here. And this is the baseline photography. And 4 years later, there's a new one here. Actually, his other nevi were looking like this. And this is the baseline image. The lesion has peripheral rim of clots, but they were looking so regular and there was no chaos. So we didn't prefer to excise it since the peripheral clots were very regular in size. But in 6 months, you see the change. There were a lot of brown circles. So it was completely different. It wasn't looking like a nevus. And since it was a changing one and the patient has a history of melanoma, we prefer to excise it, and it was a melanoma in situ. And here is the close-up. You can see there are a lot of brown circles and some grayish areas at the central part, and the circles have different sizes. Some are small and some are larger. So in lesions like that, I think excision could be a better option for lesions looking like this, even though it was a symmetrical lesion. Again, the patient has a sun-damaged skin and he has a lot of small melanocytic lesions. And we were also following up this patient annually because of he was in a risk group. And let's look at the close-up. Here, There's a new one. You see, it's very tiny. And let's have a look at the dermatoscopy. What we have here is, we have some angulated lines. You see angulated lines. The background is brown structureless, but we have angulated lines, and this is a new lesion. And the lesion doesn't have solar lentigo-like borders. We don't see scallop borders, just brown structureless and small brown circles and angulated lines. And we excise this lesion, and this was also a melanoma in situ. And here, this is the FotoFinder images. Again, let's have a look at this high-risk patient. He has a history of 2 melanomas, and he is older than 60 years old again. Let's have a look at the pink arrow. It's changing. It gets darkened, looking like blackish here. And here is the dermatoscopic change. So at last visit, we have some brown thick reticular lines, eccentric black structureless cloud here. And this was a changing lesion in a high-risk patient. Even though it was a small one, we excised it. And again, this was a melanoma in situ. Can you see? We are following up a melanoma in situ starting from 2019. And 2 years later, we excise it. And in 2 years, it's still an in situ melanoma, which is good. Let's have a look at this patient. Sun damaged skin and a lot of melanostic lesions, 42 years old male. And there's a melanostic lesion here. And number 6 is the one that I marked. And the rest of his nevi were looking like this. And number 6 is different, isn't it? And 6 months later, we didn't excite at this point, and we would like to follow up the patient, even though it was different, but it was very small. And here you can see the change. There are a lot of gray structureless areas. We have again angulated lines, eccentric black dots and clots. So at this point, we excised, and it was a melanoma in situ. And here is a bit different camera system. And the last photo is with 405 nanometer. You can see the borders very clearly here, and angulated lines are very clear in this mode of dermatoscopy. Again, you see the scar tissue here. The patient has a melanoma, and she was diagnosed, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. And this is the last body mapping. We have 2 new lesions. This is so regular. We don't need to excise this because we have brown structureless, and we have some tiny brown clots. So I prefer to follow up this newly appearing lesion. But let's have a look at the second one. This is chaotic, isn't it? We have again circle, brown circle, and there's central dot inside the brown circle. And we have again angulated lines, grayish areas. This is completely different. So a new lesion, and the patient has a history of melanoma, and we excise it. This was another melanoma in situ of the patient. And I would like also to advise my dear colleagues, always be careful on the legs, because we generally start from the trunk and arms, and we are generally very tired when we come to the legs. But melanoma on the legs is not uncommon, and especially female patients have a high risk of melanoma arising on the legs. But also this is true for convenient for also the male patients. This patient has also a history of melanoma 5 years ago. He's 45 years old. And you see, this is 1 year ago, and this is 1 year later. You see the change? Since he had a history of melanoma and high-risk patient, and this is a changing lesion, and we would like to excite it because this feature isn't typical for a nevus, isn't it? We have thick reticular lines, we have again brown circles and central dots inside the circles. You see circles and central dots, as we used to see in facial lentigo malignans. So I would like to excise it because it wasn't a typical nevus. And this was a melanoma in situ again. Again, another male patient, again on the leg. You see the change, almost very similar dermatoscopic features with the previous one. There's a peripheral rim of clots, and here we have this time pseudopods, thick reticular lines, and it's again a changing lesion in a melanoma patient, and we excise it, and this was also a melanoma in situ. Here, this is with hand dermatoscope. It's very chaotic, and you see the pseudopods, thick reticular lines. Again, another patient. Let's have a look at the mole morphology is like that. They were most like the compound nevus, congenital nevus. And let's have a look at the one on the arm. And you see the baseline and 1 year later. It's changing, and it's very atypical changing. So we would like to excise it, and this was a melanoma. But this time, it's not an in situ. We have a Breslow thickness, and the Breslow thickness was 0.2 millimeter here. Let's have a look at this patient. The patient was diagnosed 1 year ago with a melanoma in situ on the arm, and this is lesion. It was looking like a nevus. Here you see we have just brown reticular lines. There's no chaos, no clues. So I would like to follow up this one. And this is 6 months later. Do you see the change? It's growing and regressing. We have white structureless area here and grayish areas. And this is with hand dermatoscope. And this is the baseline image for comparison. It's really very different and very changing lesion, even in 6 months. And we excise this one. And this was also a melanoma in situ. They're all very small lesions, but follow-up is really very important, especially for patients who has a history of melanoma. This patient doesn't have a history of melanoma. It's a very typical nevus, isn't it? There's nothing to worry about. This is from 2017, and this is from 2023. In 4 years, it's just a growing nevus, nothing to worry about. We were following this patient annually, and last month, you see the change. Is this possible? Yes, it can happen. So there is a melanoma here, a clear-cut melanoma, and we know that the previous images are typical nevus. This time we have white reticular lines. This is a FotoFinder image. This is hand dermatoscope. We have gray structureless areas. So when white lines appear along the a melanocytic lesion, we generally think about that melanoma is developing on a nevus, because these white lines in the studies are much more commonly found in melanomas arising on nevus. So follow-up in high-risk patients and with patients more than 60 melanocytic lesions over the body is also important. This is another message. This patient doesn't have a history of melanoma, just he has more than 60 melanocytic lesions, and we can really see the advantage of these follow-ups in these sort of patients. I saw this patient 2 months ago. The patient is 70 years old, and she said that this appeared 2 months ago and growing very rapidly. Let's have a look at the dermatoscopy. It's really very looking weird. Is there a parallel furrow pattern? No. Is there a parallel ridge pattern? Looking like a parallel ridge pattern, because we have just brown and gray structureless areas, and maybe we have some sort of radial lines around the lesion. Since it's a newly appearing lesion in a 70-year-old patient, and the pattern doesn't fit a nevus, so we would like to excise it, and this was a melanoma in situ. So changing lesions in adults is very important to rule out melanoma. Again, a recent case, which I saw last month, history 1 month, and it was a papillary lesion. And here you see the dermatoscopy. The size is around 3 millimeter, but it was a papillonodular lesion. We have pink and white structures areas, white lines, and we have some brown dots and clots. So we can say that this is a typical schizoid lesion, and we have to excise it immediately because the patient is 62 years old, and this is a pink nodular lesion, and histopathology was a schizoid melanoma here. Again, let's have a look at this case. This tiny number 68. This patient also has a history of melanoma. And after pregnancy, she said that it's growing. Let's have a look at the dermatoscopy. This is the 3rd month of her pregnancy, and this is 2 months after delivery. And here you can see the change. So in 1 month, even in 1 month, we plan to excise this lesion in February, but the patient can come to her appointment 1 month later, and here you can see the change even in 1 month, and this was also a melanoma in situ. And here is the 405 nanometer dermatoscopy. You can see some angulated lines and some pseudopods. They are very visible at this mode also. Let's have a look at this lesion. It was looking like quite symmetric, isn't it? And how about dermatoscopy? It's a small one. On dermatoscopy, we have again beautiful polygons here, angulated lines and some gray dots. So we would like to excise it. And this was an extrafacial lentiginous melanoma. So we should put our dermatoscopes every melanocytic lesions because it was really looking like a news. It was very symmetric, just brown structures. Let's have a look at this patient. It's on the abdominal region. And do you think that this is normal for just 9 months? We can expect such a rapid growth in a schizoid lesion or a melanoma, and we would like to excise it. And this was a melanoma in situ again. And what do you think about this? This is on the leg, and we have pink structureless areas, some brownish at the periphery, and we have some white lines, and this is in the non-polarized mode. These white lines disappear. So here, I consider it could be a amelanotic melanoma, maybe dermatofibroma, but it wasn't firm on palpation, and maybe a little possibility, a basal cell carcinoma, and we excise it. Unfortunately, this was a basal cell carcinoma. Just a reminder, on the legs, especially non-pigmented forms of basal cell carcinoma can look like melanoma. The vessel morphology is very different. Dotted vessels are also very common. Looped vessels are very common. And here is a close-up. You can see the vessels. We have dotted vessels. We have linear vessels. We have looped vessels. And this is in 405 nanometer. The vessel morphology is much more clear, evident here. And here you can see dotted and looped and linear vessels, polymorphic vessels, looking like the vessel morphology of melanoma. But in basal cell carcinoma, on the legs, the vessels can look like this. Let's have a look at this one. This is on the face. Would you like to excise this at this point? We have maybe some brown structureless, some angulated lines. It's not a typical lentigo maligni, big solar lentigo. Patient comes 3 years later because there was a pandemic and it was growing. Let's have a look at baseline. And this time we have triangular shape. Here is a comparison. And here is a comparison of the dermatoscopic images. You can see the growth here. It's changing and new structures develop. So this was also excised, and this was a melanoma in situ. Again, high-risk patient with just the number of the moles. We have more than 60 moles over the body, and this one was looking different. Here is the mole morphology of the patient, and here's the dermatoscopy. This is a small lesion, around 3 to 4 millimeter, smaller than 5 millimeter again. We have white structureless at the center. There was a regression, and histopathology was consistent with a melanoma in situ. with severe regression. And now, another question to all of us, this peripheral rim of clots. Patient has a history of melanoma, and he is 70 years old, and this is his first baseline visit. Would you like to leave it or excise it? I would like to excise it because it was chaotic, especially at the center. The peripheral rim of clots and dots have regular shape and color, but the central part was looking like chaotic. And histopathology was consistent with dysplastic nevus with mild atypia. This is not a melanoma, according to my pathologist. He has another one on the breast. You see here. Would you like to leave this one? For sure, no, because it's again a very chaotic lesion. We have brown, gray. Although the peripheral rim of clots have regular size and color, the central part was looking like very chaotic, and we excised it, and this was a melanoma arising on a nevus here. And this is my last case for melanoma. This is the back of a 47-year-old male. Let's have a look at. It's a small one. What do you think it is? I think most of you is considering a schizoid lesion because we have white lines, we have peripheral black clots, segmental radial lines, pseudopods. And I would say to you, this patient has a history of melanoma, and breast of thickness was more than 1 millimeter. Could it be a metastasis? Yes, it could be. It could be a metastasis. And here's the FotoFinder images. And he has one more on the scalp. And this was looking like that. There was a central ulceration, peripheral white structureless areas, and some dotted vessels. This was also another metastasis. So sometimes metastasis can be solitary or few in number and looking like a melanoma. We all follow up these patients very regularly and very carefully. And we should also keep in mind that metastasis can look like a schizoid lesion. Now, let's have a look at congenital nevus. We all know the classification of congenital nevus. Small congenital nevus is smaller than 1.5 centimeter, and medium size congenital nevus is smaller than 20 centimeter, and when it is larger than 20 centimeter, we call it large congenital nevus, and when it is bigger than 40 centimeter, it's giant congenital nevus. In the newborn period, the size differs. How about risk of melanoma in congenital melanocytic nevi? In small and medium-sized congenital melanocytic nevi, the risk of developing melanoma is smaller than 1%. And especially before prepubertal era, it's extremely rare. So you don't need to follow up medium or small congenital nevus before puberty. And if melanoma arises on small or medium-sized congenital melanocytic nevi, they're generally originated from the periphery of the nevi. When coming to large and giant congenital melanocytic nevi, the frequency of developing melanoma differs in most studies, and it's between 1 to 15% in different studies. And melanoma generally develop prepubertal era and originated from dermis and subcutaneous tissue. So palpation is very important in these patients. And almost 35% of these giant congenital or large congenital melanocytic nevi is not related with the nevi. Melanoma generally arises on neurocutaneous melanosis, gastrointestinal system, or retroperitoneal melanoma is much more common than arising on the congenital nevus. Diameter of the congenital melanocytic nevi is a very important point for the development of melanoma, especially when it's bigger than 40 centimeter, the risk is getting higher. A number of satellite melanocytic lesions also increase the risk of melanoma. And truncal localization has also a proportional risk. And when there is a neurocutaneous melanosis, the risk of melanoma is approximately 50% in these cases. So it's very important to detect neurocutaneous melanosis in patients, and MR angiography, MR scanning is very important, especially before the 6 months, because when myelinization develops, neurocutaneous melanosis is not very clear, and it's generally recommended to perform MR examination before 6 months in the infantile period. Neurocutaneous melanosis is a result of congenital dysplasia of melanoblasts, which are of neural crest cell origin, and these are located in the leptomeninx, optic lobes, inner ear, and sinonasal cavity, and sometimes skin. Leptomeningeal involvement by melanocytic proliferations can be benign, nodular, diffuse, or malignant. And if there is neurocutaneous melanosis, it's symptomatic before 2 years of age. And for neurocutaneous melanosis, the risk factors are if the patient has a giant congenital melanocytic nevi, if the patient has satellite nevi, and this is the major risk factor actually, if the patient also has multiple congenital melanocytic nevi over the body, head and scalp involvement, and involvement of the posterior midline. And as I mentioned, gold standard for the diagnosis is MR examination. And here's a patient of mine, and this patient also has a neurocutaneous melanosis, and you can see this in this MR examination. And this patient is a very tragic case. He has a traffic accident, and during abdominal ultrasonography, and he was 15 years old at that time, abdominal ultrasonography, and the hepatic part and peritone, there was multiple metastases in this patient, and they took a biopsy, and histopatology was metastatic melanoma. And oncologists asked us, where is the primary origin of this metastatic melanoma? The patient is a 15-year-old boy, and I first examined whole body. There was nothing there. There was nothing. There wasn't a congenital nevus, but on the scalp, under the hair, you see there's a large congenital nevus here, and there was nodular proliferations. Even though we took some biopsies from the most nodular parts, this was just a congenital nevus. But you see MR examination, there's also a metastasis here, and we don't know, this is neurocutaneous melanosis, or this is the metastasis of the melanoma from the retroperitoneal part. But as you can see, large congenital melanocytic nevus is really very important risk factor for the development of melanoma, and careful examination is very necessary in these patients, especially before prepubertal period. In every 6 months, we should do dermatoscopic examinations, and palpation is very important. And after puberty, annual examinations take place in these patients. And my last slides, I'm sorry, I'm a bit late. We have 2 pathways of nevus-associated melanoma. If it developed from the nevus, you can see it generally is, can be center of the nevus. And if there's a dermal nevus, melanoma generally arises adjacent part of the skin. For example, this is a congenital nevus, and melanoma is at the center because it's arising on this part. Again, there's a congenital nevus, and melanoma is again at the center. And here you see white lines, dotted vessels. And there's a dermal nevus, and melanoma is at the periphery, adjacent to skin, not arising from the nevus. Again, dermal nevus, melanoma is at the periphery. Again, dermal nevus, melanoma is at the periphery. And this is 405 nanometer. And there's dermal nevus and melanoma is at the periphery. This is FotoFinder images. And this photo is from our Euromelanoma campaign. And these are my very hardworking residents. And they diagnosed 2 melanomas during our last Euromelanoma campaign. And I'm so proud of them. And thank you for your patience.
Nisa, thank you so much for this great presentation. The incredible cases, I have to say. The three of us were in a way overwhelmed watching them, especially not only due to the perfect images that you take, but also to the fact that yeah, there are some very young patients. I mean, this is the saddest part of our job when we discovered such young cases, right?
Yes, terrible. Yeah.
Nisa, there is a question. You mentioned that a certain percentage of the melanoma you find are only with total body photography. Is it 8% that you mentioned? That's one of the questions.
No. The study published by Emilio's group, they found that the secondary primary melanoma, the percentage of secondary primary melanoma is 8%. But during they detected these melanomas during total body photography. So they're all in situ or very early melanomas, not invasive melanomas.
So actually, it's very important to have total body photography to detect the micromelanomas.
Very early stages.
Combination of dermatoscopy and total body photography is very important, especially in very high-risk patients.
Yeah.
True. No, that's clear. Actually, now that we're talking about it, and again coming back to the point why it was such an important issue for us to invite the both of you, as you have somehow had such an impact on the development of our companies. The body mapping, the way it is done today at FotoFinder, I suppose got an incredible pace and inspiration when I met Giuseppe. I have to be honest. I myself, when I started working at FotoFinder, I learned that it's very important to have a good focused microscopic image. So we invested a lot in having very good microscopic images, you know. But when I met Giuseppe the very first time, actually very first meeting in Napoli, he just didn't care about the dermoscopic image. Imagine I had prepared myself, you know, with a tie and you know, young sales manager, shaved, prepared to meet the grande professore. And then I was showing him a lot of dermoscopic images. He said, I don't have time for this. That was good. And that's when Giuseppe told me, look, we need so many patients here. We need something quick to do body photography. And that was a big impact, Giuseppe. I have to be honest. I will never forget that day when I came to Napoli.
Yeah. And if you come today, it's even better. You have to come. Yes,
I know. Your Marcello and your team, they became even technicians and engineers. They give us hints. Guys, do this.
Yeah, you know, yesterday we had a problem with the
fuse. With the fuse.
Yeah.
And he took the device apart and exchanged it. And it's incredible. I mean, seriously. There is no engineer needed. All the doctors are experts of.
Yeah.
How many patients do you examine per day in your clinics, both of you? Like doing total body photography?
Well, actually, nowadays, let's say, when I took the clinic 8 years ago, actually, in 2016, so it's 8 years ago, yeah. We had a workload of 20, maybe 25 patients per day. Nowadays, the clinic is made of at least 350 patients per day. And of those, at least 50%, but even more, are coming for skin cancer. So, of course, mole mapping, of course, melanoma, but also non-melanoma skin cancer. And yeah, so if you come now, you don't move. So in the ASL, you don't move anymore.
Incredible.
Crazy.
And in your clinic, Nisa?
I'm sorry, I have a call. 15 or 20. It's just like that.
or more mapping. You see,
Yeah, mole mapping.
yeah.
No, I mean, obviously, the percentage, coming back to that question, I think, as far as I know, in average is around 15%, 15% of patients that are really very relevant for body mapping. In some clinics, maybe if you have a lot of high-risk patients, you do more. But in average, I would say it's 15%. That's also what I see in many publications, that 15% of patients, 15, not 50, are relevant definitely for body mapping because of multiple nevi, history of melanoma and other reasons. But of course, it's very important because you generate a lot of data. We must remain efficient in what we do also regarding the time. That is why it's important to look at this criteria.
Yeah, and that this also means that the common ABCD rule is no more valid because the diameter of micromelanoma can be so small.
Not in every country, Catherine. I mean, look, we are at the moment working in certain ex-Soviet countries. Let's say let's say Uzbekistan. They discover melanoma. I know from the books of the 70s in Europe, and they discover them today. I mean, it's really, we have to make sure that dermoscopy goes around the world, and the basic knowledge of that is actually the motivation why we do these courses, right? We want the people to learn just the basics, because that's what you need to know to save life, not just body mapping, for sure.
Sure.
Enough to design a machine.
That's true. But people, in this break, we thought about talking further about this fusion and this marriage. And the question was, how can you make a marriage sustainable? Okay, sustainable. When it comes to relationship, interhuman relationship, it's a very complex question, I would say. Okay, now, if I think from the Greek philosophers to today's philosophers, everybody was behind this question. There is no clear answer. What do you think?
No clear answer. I mean, it's been 2000 years that we are struggling around the issue of a good couple. What is the secret? Well, maybe the best point is that for a good relationship, you need to work. You need to work in order to have a good relationship. So it means that you have to work, guys. You have to work and you have to produce things, because we are never satisfied completely. We want more. We want more things. Yeah.
More development.
Yes,
Yes. Better devices. But more development for what? To save your time, right? That's what you want. Saving time.
Yes, save time and let's say also improving improving our ability to say this is good, this is bad. AI could be something, let's say, in this direction, and you are working on it. So who knows if we will see something happening in the AI stuff really impacting in the daily life? Because for the moment, I mean, it's nice, but it's not really. Are you using any AI, Nisa, in your daily practice?
No, never.
No.
No, but you're right. I mean, obviously, AI is maybe not today, at least, not of great use for an expert, because your eye, your knowledge, you're just much faster. It's a matter of time. I mean, using AI permanently costs also time. But people, what you mentioned, Giuseppe, is the right thing. When the three of us, maybe we were the first people talking about this marriage years ago, just imagining, why would we put the two companies together? I think what we knew is this marriage makes only sense if it creates added value for you people, for all the dermatologists. And this was the main driver. Whenever we talked about it, we knew if FotoFinder and Dermlight are together, we can create even better application, better hardware, make all of these devices that are in your hand being more compatible. The ergonomy, the entire alignment between the two devices would create added value for you. And that is the reason why we are together. We are complementary. We like each other. I would say we love each other. It's beyond liking each other. And at the same time, we want to make better technology for you people out there. And we appreciate this feedback. To be honest, we appreciate very much this feedback that you are giving to us when we do customer surveys, when we meet at congresses, and you are open and direct to us. This is the best way. It's a wonderful relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
We-
So we
are
are already
expecting
one
from
baby
you-
together with.
we are expecting from you a very faster photography. Total body photography should be faster.
Even faster, okay? Okay, Nisa,
Yeah.
I taken into account.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have clear synergies.
Yeah.
You know, we have the opportunity to build a home of dermoscopy from very mobile, very quick, very fast solutions to very in-depth flows that are highly automated, and we can cater to anyone's use case. It doesn't matter the size of your clinic or your practice. I think we would like to have a portfolio of products, and I think we already do, that cater to all those use cases and various needs around the world. And a part of my mission is to interconnect, you know, the world of dermoscopy, not only the products, but also the people that do it. And because, you know, medicine is all about sharing knowledge, this is why we're here. And I think our products need to support the idea of sharing and working together across the globe. So I think we can do our part to not only educate, but also create those products that are intuitive, seamless, fast, and build community. And our hope is that we can contribute to that goal. And I think we can do it better being together than on our own. So I'll leave it at that. So,
Nice mission, nice mission.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a huge motivation. And what Thorsten said, maybe the keywords are teledermoscopy, AI, all of these tools will definitely make us more efficient. But people, in order to understand what is driving us, let us maybe watch one, two very short videos that we prepared. We come back with a poll because we prepared a very nice question, the poll that we wanted to also hear your opinion about, right?
Yes, and the two videos, it's about the two babies we bring into the marriage.
Two babies for the marriage.
showing the first video.
The first one is yours.
Okay, yeah. I guess. Yeah, DL5.
Wow, this was very catchy, huh?
Yeah, it's a nice music. Yeah. Nice beat, nice
That's our
beat.
latest baby,
Must
and
have.
we've done some surveys lately. Many of you contributed to our surveys, and they told us that many of you are looking for a new dermatoscope. And here's DL5. I think the most capable dermatoscope on the market. It offers everything from variable polarization to UV reflectance dermoscopy. There are things you can do with DL5 that weren't possible before. So I think you should check it out. UV, I think Nisa, maybe you want to talk. I don't know if you can help me talk about some UV applications that you have found fascinating and maybe helpful. I mean, keywords are some fungal, parasitic, you know, maybe some continuous infections, maybe even margin delineation, things like that. I don't know if you have something to talk about. Oh, you're
You're
muted.
muted.
Sorry.
Actually, I have a very fascinating case of porokeratosis, which was diagnosed with the help of UV mode. Maybe I can show the photos to you after JP's presentation. It's really amazing. I generally use UV dermatoscopy during inflammoscopy and find quite helpful, especially in the diagnosis of porokeratosis, because the keratotic rim is much more visible. And of course, for parasitic scabies, trichomoniasis axillaris, even dermatophyte infections. I have very good, beautiful images with UV mode. It's really very helpful, UV dermatoscopy.
Excellent.
For melanocytic lesions, I'm not so sure, but maybe for delineating the borders of the tumors, especially for lentigo malignum, it can be useful. But for me, inflammoscopy and infectious diseases, it's really great. And also in capitis.
Very good,
Yeah.
very good. But we thought actually when there is DL5 out there, like a little baby sister is always good,
Yes,
right?
a little sister, a little digital sister.
Digital sister.
because we talk from small to tall. So in between, there's a little digital dermatoscope that we have just launched, the Skin.
The first accessible and affordable photo finder, I would say. All these years we had this, of course, a lot of hardware, big machines made for body mapping. But now finally we have got this little dermoscope everybody wanted to have, AI driven, you know, having a nicer screen. Maybe let's watch the screen, watch the video, come back, and Giuseppe got it, so he can give us feedback. So, Giuseppe, when I met them asked, you got your skin. How did you
Yeah.
get it?
Well, so I got my skin at the Congress in Catania last week, and on Monday and until today, I'm always carrying this stuff with me, like a little bag. They are laughing on me, and yeah, I think that's the right way to go for digital dermoscopy, especially for pictures, for taking high resolution pictures. And in my view, this is not a joke. I think that really you both combine the two things we need, you know, analogic dermoscopy, which means great lens, dermlight technology, in order to have analogic visualization of what we see every day. And this is for diagnosis. But then for taking pictures and for documentation and so on, we need to go on digital. And then this is a very nice tool. In my view, there are a few things which can be improved. For example, you know, if you have if you need to download fast the images, maybe the capacity to download the images directly on the desktop of your computer.
Right.
Also, for example, a better calibration, because I know that you work on very sharp images, you know, because for digital follow-up we need sharp images, while for the everyday life we need to keep as much as possible very close to the reality, you know what I mean? So, and the reality is the analogic side of the spectrum. So maybe you know, the combination of the two worlds, analogic and digital, could be a good improvement of the skin. But I like it very much.
Rabbi, the more you play with it and the more feedback you give us, I can promise, together with Thorsten and the team here, we will make the skin better. We'll make it better and improve it.
Streamline the workflows to make it also faster
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
intuitive.
Absolutely. Wonderful, people. Then let's take this from here and jump into Giuseppe's presentation. What's the topic?
It's now from kids to grandparents, right?
Kids to
Yes, yeah. This is a very nice topic, by the way. I love it. Going into a complete different scenarios. You know, one scenario is the kids on one side of the spectrum, and the other scenario is the let's say the mature people, not the elderly, come on, 50 plus, I'm 58, it means that I'm an elderly guy. No, I'm a mature adult. And of course, the scenario is completely different. Why? Because we know very well that melanoma and in general, skin cancer is exceptionally rare in children, while in the above the age of 50, it becomes much and more frequent. So skin cancer, including melanoma, is increasing by the increasing age of the patient. So it's a matter of fact that there are completely two different scenarios. So what is our daily problem with children is not melanoma, is not nevi, is not skin cancer, is nothing related to the lesions, but the everyday life is made of one problem, and our problem is the mama. So the mama usually scared. I don't know in your countries, but in Italy, and I'm pretty sure also in Turkey, it's the same. Mamas are very, very, very scared. And they come with these eyes full of fear that you can say something bad concerning the lesions of their children. So they usually say, my son is full of nevi, and more or less that's the situation you see in the practice. So basically nothing, you know. So it's really, it's an easy job, despite the fact that the management of the mama is a little bit challenging, but it's an easy job. We have only a few things to remind. Of course, also in a situation like this, when we see a few more nevi, you know, if the mom is saying my son is full of nevi, maybe it's not full, but there is a relatively good number of nevi in this little girl, but no problems, you know, because I mean, when you check dermoscopically, the lesions are very easy to assess. They are symmetric, they are globular. Globular nevi are by far the most common type of nevi in children. So they are, let's say, belonging to the family of congenital nevi. The family of congenital nevi is much larger than we think, because we are used to think about the congenital nevus, the big ones, the large or the intermediate size, but there are also the small ones, and the small ones are very, very frequent. I assume that more or less all nevi appearing before puberty are belonging to the family of congenital nevi, because they look the same, they look globular like the real congenital ones. Sometimes mamas are coming very scared because there is a nevus on the sole, on the acral side. I mean, and there is this saying that nevi located on the acral sides are more dangerous than others. Of course, this is completely, this is a legend. Nevi located in these areas are not more dangerous than those on the trunk or on the arms or on the face. So it's nothing to be worried about. Here we see a beautiful acral nevus with a parallel furrow pattern. What we do usually is to say to the patient, go home. When should I come back? And then I say, okay, when your little girl will become 18 at least. Sometimes, of course, there are special situations like this one, blue nevi. If we use our dermatoscope, blue nevi are even more blue than on clinical ground. Blue nevi are very, very relaxed lesions. There is nothing to be done. Once we diagnose it, it's just a lesion that can be, let's say, released, and no worries about it. Sometimes we see these things which are very obvious for dermatologists. These are halo nevi, Saturn nevi. I mean, usually, sometimes they are more than one. Usually you see children with more than a number of halo nevi. What to do? Nothing. Of course, we know that there is some kind of parental relationship between halo nevi and vitiligo, but it's not a mathematical relationship. So just to make sure that they will not develop the vitiligo, maybe we do a follow-up over time of this patient, these little kids with halo nevi. But for all these nevi, the only management is to say to the mama, go home, be relaxed, come back. If something is changing, don't be worried about it anymore. But, you know, even if until now, I mean, my message was really relaxing, and I suppose that 100% of the people sharing with me this afternoon session are in agreement. I'm pretty sure. But the real situation, by the way, is completely different. The real situation is definitely different. This is an example of the real situation. Yeah, the number needed to excise. You know what is the number needed to excise? It's the number of lesions you must excise to find one melanoma. Okay, so in adulthood, yeah, in adult patients, the worldwide mean average, let's say, number needed to excise is 30. It means that you excise 30 lesions, 30 benign lesions to find one melanoma. Okay, and you see here the number needed to excise that we found in a paper we published quite a number of years ago in Austria, from the pathologist files of a very big center, dermatopathology center in Graz, and we found out that it's nearly 600. So in order to find a melanoma in children, you have to excise 600 lesions. So what is the message here? That we still excise too many lesions in children for nothing, for no reason. Yeah, and obviously these 600 lesions are not only spitz nevi or, you know, ugly lesions, but also lesions that we could avoid to excise. And why we do this? Because of the pressure given by the stress of the mamas. So again, the previous problem. So there are only 2 lesions, in my view, which merit attention in children, and these are congenital nevi so after a certain size. So let's say starting from 2 centimeters in size, these lesions must be considered interesting, because there is a relatively risk for melanoma. And then the second lesion we are, let's say, interested in children are the new fast-growing lesions, because these new fast-growing lesions can be then diagnosed as a spitz nevus. Spitz nevus is a benign lesion, is a benign nevus, but it's a special type of nevus which should be managed in a more a special way. Therefore, we need to pay attention to these 2 categories of lesions. Okay, so that's it for children. I don't want to take too much time anymore. I just want to tell you now a little bit about the other side of the spectrum of our patients, the elderly group. As you can see here, you see clearly that the probability to develop melanoma is increasing by the increasing age. So it's almost 0 before the age of 20, is relatively increasing between 20 and 50 years of age. But then look, it becomes very much higher if we speak about people over the age of 50. Okay, so in this category of patients, this is the maximum expectation of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancer. And on the opposite, this is the number of nevi that we can find in patients of different age groups. So on the opposite, the number of nevi are decreasing over the age, over the time. Okay, so you see, we are born basically with a very low number of nevi, and we die with a very low number of nevi. The peak is in the middle, between 30 and 40 years of age, and then nevi are decreasing. What does it mean they are decreasing? Yes, they are involuting, they are disappearing. There is a spontaneous involution of nevi. Okay, therefore, our life over the age of 50 is becoming easier, paradoxically. Easier because from a diagnostic point of view. Easier from a diagnostic point of view, because nevi are decreasing, skin cancer is increasing, so skin cancer is usually then easily to be differentiated, and also because the two benign lesions, which are instead increasing after a certain age, are very easily to be differentiated from melanoma, which is seborrheic keratosis and angiomas, cherry angiomas. Okay, so it's an easy job, but still, the most of the people dying today from melanoma are elderly people. Why? And especially elderly men. Why? Because they come too late. It's a problem because they come too late, because if there is something growing on the shoulder, like in this case, and this is already a 2 millimeter thick melanoma, they don't realize that there is something to be worried about, because they don't have the melanoma culture, because they don't have nevi. So they don't know that, I mean, they have to pay attention. And this is a big problem. And not only this, the problem partially is the fact that doctors, and with doctors I mean general physicians, dermatologists, surgeons, geriatric doctors, and so on, we do not have the attitude to check the skin of our patients, even if they come for another reason. If an elderly patient is coming for a hair loss, I don't check their shoulder, and I have to admit that I can miss some melanomas, not because I'm not able to recognize it, but I will miss a melanoma because I'm not able to see it if I don't check the skin. So we have to understand that paradoxically in elderly patients, even if they don't come for a mole check, for a skin check, for a complete skin check, we have to offer them a skin check, because they are the category of patients with a higher risk of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancer. Okay, and the check is rapid, it's very easy. These are cherry angiomas. It's much more cumbersome to get undressed a patient than to check them, it's much more time consuming. But once the patient is undressed, it's very easy. These are cherry angiomas. These are regular dermal nevi, and they are the only nevi which are surviving in the elderly group of patients. If I check this patient, it will be easy, very easy to understand if there is something wrong. Look, there are two things which are wrong here: a very clear-cut melanoma on the left, and the small BCC, pigmented BCC on bottom right. Okay, and these two are clear-cut seborrheic keratosis. So easy job, easy job. The only thing is to get this patient undressed, because if this patient will not be undressed, the patient will go away with these two lesions still on his skin. Okay, so we can miss a melanoma sometimes because we are not able to recognize it, but very often we can miss it because we don't see it. We don't check the skin. Look, for example, at this patient. This patient this is a patient we saw back in 2011. And I learned a lot from this patient. He was referred to us from another doctor because of this suspicious lesion on his face. And this is a clear-cut what? a clear-cut basal cell carcinoma. So what we did, of course, we organized everything to get this lesion excised, and we did it. And then we said goodbye to the patient, and we forgot to do what? A full skin check. And then the patient came back in October 2012, so 1 year later, 1 year and a half later, actually. And we realized that this patient had a melanoma under his underwear. And we were not able to see it. Okay. And this was 8 millimeter thick melanoma. So, I mean, I'm not speaking about these things saying someone else is doing this mistake. We do. We all do this mistake, including us. Okay. So, and you know, when we do mistakes, we say, come on, how can it be possible that I did such a bad mistake? Okay. Mistakes are happening every day. And we all do mistakes. But the only thing we can do in order to let's say, to profit by the mistake is to learn from the mistake, you know? So, and if we have to learn from our mistakes, from that point on, I have to see under the sleep, under the underwear of my elderly patients. Okay. What else? I would say that I would finish here because I want to make these few concepts extremely clear. Let's check our patients, elderly patients. So let's take time with them to check them. And maybe let's save some of our time to check unusefully children. Children should not be checked too much because they have nothing. Usually, not always, but usually. Bene. Here we are.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Giuseppe, thank you very much. But you did not really tell us how much do you suffer when the mothers come with their children, and how do you manage that psychological part of it?
Well, I try to make a little bit of fun. So that first of all, if you make a little bit of fun, they will relax. Of course, the most challenging situation is not when only the mama is there, but when the mama and the grandmama are there. Then it's the the worst situation. And usually the father is also coming, but the father does not speak. The father is only the driver.
Same here, Giuseppe. Same here.
Exactly. The father does not speak at all. He's just coming because he has to drive. And
But here we are also in the secret of good marriage. A caring wife saves life.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I
And,
think that more women detect melanoma on the back of the husband than
Hey, where is the wife, Giuseppe? The one on the back of the male patient.
Yeah.
Where's the wife?
yeah, true, exactly. Exactly. The point is that wives are checking husbands' back, but not the opposite.
Yeah.
exactly.
Men
They
never care about
relevant
it.
parts.
Yeah, that's bad look, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. People, we have questions. There is, or Nisa answered the question, right? There was a question in the chat
Yeah,
about
which
genetics, right?
Genetics. But this is not a very clear question. For genetics, for what? For melanoma or for other cancer syndromes, scleroderma pigmentosum, nevoid basal cell carcinoma syndromes, which type of genes?
Well, maybe the same the Benjamin Hidalgo can specify. But meanwhile, the question is clarified. I tell you something. The pharmaceutical company Moderna, they announced 2-3 days ago that they have the first mRNA vaccination for melanoma patients. What do you think about this, actually?
Yeah. This is still under trial. I mean, still not sure if melanoma vaccine works. By the way, Many groups are working on melanoma vaccination since 30 years,
Many,
even
many years.
many,
Yeah.
many years. So it's not a brand new stuff. Until now, the results were not really satisfying, but it seems that the last ones are much more promising. But still, we don't know actually.
But what does this mean? This means if somebody develops melanoma and would take that vaccination, then the person is going to be safe? Is it like the...
No, no. It's just for treatment for metastatic melanoma.
Ah, okay.
So
I got
it's not a preventive vaccination.
Mhm.
It's a treating drug. It's a treating vaccine. Yeah.
Okay.
Usually we think that a vaccine is avoiding. I mean, I do a vaccine in order not to get COVID. In this case, you get them. You get the vaccine once you have melanoma, metastatic melanoma.
Okay, that's good actually. Hopefully it works.
Yeah.
That's very good. Again, I see that the questions that are coming in are a little bit still a bit confusing. I do not understand exactly this question about dermoscopic images and body mapping, what it says, but we always need both. I mean, this is, I think, something important that you know. We want to reduce the time to take single dermoscopic images by body mapping, but still for certain lesions that you want to follow up, you need dermoscopic pictures because the resolution of the body mapping is still not there. We are doing our best, as Giuseppe said, to make it better and better and better, but the resolution of body mapping still does not allow you to skip completely the dermoscopic documentation, right? So this is, in my opinion, important point to know. People, we have got the question, I think, clarified now.
There is a question. What are the management tactics of two lesion group of children? So the children with congenital nevi and new fast-growing lesions. Yeah, this is a good question because I didn't go into the details. So for congenital nevi, the management is follow-up. Okay, so in this particular scenario, I asked the patient, the mama, to come back every 12 months or 6. It depends from.
But do you follow up patients with medium or small congenital nevus?
No,
I never
no.
follow up these patients before puberty because there's no melanoma at stage group.
No, small, no, never. But
and medium also.
But intermediate size congenital nevi,
before puberty.
Yeah, let's say, I mean, they are not so many. You know, how many intermediate size congenital nevi we see in our practice? Maybe 1 per month. So it since it's not a very frequent scenario, I still say, okay, come back every 12 months in order to make everybody happy. So follow up. And for new fast-growing lesions, it depends from what we find. If we find a spitzoid-looking lesion before puberty, we don't excise it, so we just follow up, and after puberty, we excise it.
Okay. Good. There is a question if it makes sense to buy a FotoFinder for a children's hospital. I would say you first need a dermoscope. You don't need documentation probably that much, so probably you don't need a FotoFinder.
You shouldn't say that, but
unless you're doing research on the
unless you're doing research, then you need to document, and that maybe makes sense.
Basic stuff, you know, Anna. But this is funny because at home I still have, and this is a piece of history. This guy. Look.
My first dermatoscope.
Look at this.
My first dermatoscope.
Your first dermatoscope.
White one.
So when Nisa and I were born, we both this. Yeah. Well, actually, actually, the first one was the white one. Yeah, the creamy one.
White one.
And so that's all you need to start. That's all you need to start. And then when you are full of patients with multiple moles, then you buy a mole mapping system. Or nowadays you buy one of these skin to make photographs. Yeah.
That's also a possibility. While we talk about imaging, let me initiate these 2 polls because there are 2 interesting polls that we created for you guys. Again, related to the fact that Dermlight and FotoFinder are trying to create more and more integration for added value for all of you guys. So the first question that we would like you to answer, please participate, is it already on? What was the first question? Actually, I cannot read it. Carson, can you help me?
No.
You can't. With these glasses.
Check the Dermsocopy.
No. So the first question is,
Well,
if-
you know that you can connect the
Yes.
light to the FotoFinder.
exactly, you are able to take your FotoFinder, you are able to take your downlight, and then connect it via phone to the database of FotoFinder. So you could document also using your downlight with your smartphone, people. The question is, did you know about it? If not, we should send you some information about it, because we empower your downlight. That's something that we do.
Ah.
So this is the first question. And we have another question.
Let's see the result, or yeah.
We cannot see it probably
cannot see it.
because that's
I can tell you,
you can tell me.
50% said no, and I would love to have it.
Oh, okay, good.
30% said yes, and I love it. And 13 out of 74 said interesting, but nothing for me.
Okay, good, very good. People, thanks for your participation. We move to the second question. The second question is that you could use your downlight, right, and have access to FotoFinder Cloud and doing some documentation using AI, this kind of stuff. For those who do not need to document a lot but would like to save some images using the AI, experiment with it, I would like to know if that is something interesting for you or not. Please participate in the poll. Let's see what is the outcome. No, in fact, one of the advantages for those who might see a skin patient once a week. I was in Australia, I met some GPs that said, look, I do that once a week. For me, it's interesting to basically dedicate and during that day maybe have the option to document some stuff, but I don't need to buy a huge, big body mapping machine. In that case, you just take your downlight, connect it to your phone, and you can use the apps and the cloud platform. That is something that we more and more will improve for all of you out there, make it better. Good. So here we have got also some results as I see. Is it visible? Oh, okay. We have got, wow, great option. Okay, people, that's very good. Those of you who are interested in this will get anyway information after this session.
And I think there was one more chat question
Okay.
on the topic.
Which was one more question that we didn't answer, you mean?
Exactly. That just
There's a question in the chat that it's asking, do you follow up the patients with acral congenital nevi? From my point of view, we know that today melanoma on acral site develop de novo, not from congenital nevus. So I don't follow up congenital nevi on the foot, acral site.
And there's another question. Do you use Rigel classification to decide if you use a body mapping or not in a patient?
What? Repeat again?
I never heard this classification.
Me neither.
What?
I have never heard about this classification, Rigel classification.
What is the classification? Riga.
Rigel, never heard about it.
Maybe
Monica,
our friend Raimond's.
Riga.
That's the Riga. We couldn't. That's a new name. That's a new name. Actually, we always look for new names.
Maybe Monica can
Rigel.
Very good.
You check children and strong family history of melanoma. Do you manage them differently if there's a family history of melanoma in children?
After puberty annually, from my part.
But otherwise, no. You don't treat them differently before puberty than the normal population. Do you, Nisa?
Actually, when there is strong family history of melanoma, and if the patient has multiple melanocytic nevi, if the patient is a child, I don't follow up before puberty, but after puberty annually.
Okay. Okay. Doesn't make a difference. Okay.
Great.
Is that it?
Good. That's it for questions. And people, something else about our beautiful marriage. Whenever you find the three of us in a place like where there is a dermoscopy event, the chance that there will be music is very high. Actually, music brought us in many cases together. When Thorsten and I fell in love, it started with music. We also danced together. It depends on the amount of gin tonic we have, or we even dance together. So music is definitely a driver for FotoFinder and Downlight. But I see more questions are coming in. Okay, that's a very very interesting question, very technical. We will definitely come back to that and respond it in detail, how to connect FotoFinder app. But let us go toward the fact that when we talk about music, one of the guys who inspired a lot of people in the world is Bob Marley. Late Bob Marley. He died of melanoma, unfortunately, because he did not go for skin checks, or when he went, it was too late, Thorsten, right? What was the problem with Bob?
Unfortunately, too late. Yes.
Too late. So, but we thought about, this is our first academy together. We gotta do a music that sounds good, and we're gonna have to relate it to somebody who basically did a lot for this world, but unfortunately died of melanoma. We recovered a song by Bob Marley that you all know. We basically recovered it into making a dermoscopy song out of it, okay? I don't know if you will hear the sound here well. Thorsten is sitting on a cajon. He gives us some beats. And I'm gonna tell you a new dermoscopy song. Most people think dermoscope comes from the sky. It knows everything. Make everybody feel high. Not all that glitter is gold. Really, not all that glitter is gold. Half the story's never been told. Now you see the light. Turn on your damn light. Come on. Get up, stand up. Turn on your damn light. Get up, stand up. Turn on your damn light. Come on, people. Get up, stand up. For the late on it, from Bavaria, to all of you who were with us today, we enjoyed your presence. You gotta know that the FotoFinder are gonna make you all happy forever and ever. People, on a wonderful Friday afternoon, Thorsten, are we happy?
Oh yeah, we're happy.
Catherine?
Very happy.
For Bob Marley, and may never ever any musician die of melanoma, because we take care of them with get up, stand up, oh, you're right. Get up, stand up, turn on your downlight, God knows, right? So, thanks a lot for being with us today. JP and Nisa, the last words are yours.
I can show you the UV dermatoscopic images if you want. Very.
Go.
Probably Bob would have survived if he had met anybody with a dermoscope, right?
It's really so beautiful. I would like to share with you. Okay.
I have the UV light here.
You see the image? Not nice one.
Oh,
Ooh.
Sorry. This is not the case.
But that's
It's really
also an
beautiful.
interesting case, Nisa. So
Nisa is
There's a problem with my screen.
yeah.
This
what do
is.
you say? Is that a dermoscopy song we can dedicate?
Here we go. Here we see.
Oh, yeah.
Now we can see.
This is a very rare type of porokeratosis called porokeratosis pitotropica, involving the genitocranial region. But you see the
Wow.
dermatoscopy here. There's cornoid lamella at the periphery, but with UV light, it's amazing. You see the cornate lamella?
Wow. Wow.
That looks from a
Again,
different planet.
This is dermatoscopy, and this is with UV light. The cornate lamella is really very beautiful.
Looks like a piece of art.
Yeah.
Hey, we are not allowed to say these things about skin cancer. In America, we're not allowed to say this.
No.
It's not a piece of art. Melanoma cannot be a piece of art.
Ah, incredible.
But the picture.
The picture. No, Nisa, thanks very much for showing us these images. These UV images look really funky. Funky, seriously.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So people,
Words are
the last words are yours, and the very last one is Bob Marley's. Come on, Giuseppe.
Ragazzi, I'm very happy to have shared a few hours with you, and we are looking forward for a very fruitful marriage. Yeah.
Thank
we
you.
expect big things from you.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. But people, latest you will meet us as a team I think in Graz for the one and only authentic and nostalgic dermoscopy workshop. We will be there. We will do some music. So I know that not everybody can come to Graz, but maybe we do some more live sessions online. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope some of you can join us.
Yeah, that's it.
Not somewhere else.
Nisa.
Nisa.
I asked first, I have one more case. Just kidding.
No, that's wonderful. People, thanks for being with us on this Friday afternoon. And people, don't forget Argentina. We are going to Argentina in October. Register for the World Congress because that's going to be the dermoscopy party of the year. And then maybe we do some music there. I promise, if you come to Argentina, I dance tango with you. I promise. You can write your name in the chat.
Ciao ragazzi.
Ciao, 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 everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.